that serpent of Genesis who deceived Eve, who is represented by the seed of the serpent? There are some people that say the demons, angels came and had sexual relationship with the daughters of man, and that created the Nephilims. I'm saying it's nonsense, because when you read the verse again, the verse says they were giant in those days and after. And after what? And after that the sons of God found that the daughters of men were beautiful and had relationship with them. So there were giants in those days, and even after that the sons of God, because it contradicts the whole Bible that angels can't have sexual relationship. Jesus even himself said that. Who is represented by the seed of the serpent? Hey, what's up? So let's continue where we finished last time. We discovered that sin entered the world, and then we saw the damage that it caused. But then we also saw that Satan convinced our first parents to first distrust God and break down their confidence and trust that God loved them. And he keeps doing the same up until this day to us. He did the same to Jesus. If you're really the Son of God, you could do this and that. And it's always the same. Like, if he can break down that connection between us and God, then it's easy for us to break God's commandments, because the commandments, as we saw last time, are just the aspects of what love means or is. And the way that love is expressed in the kingdom of God is through each item of the 10 commandments. And we also saw that when they sinned, they tried to deal with their own sin by their own means. They discovered that they were naked. Their eyes were opened before even eating of the fruit. They saw that the fruit was good for food when God had already said that's not good to eat. You know, Satan tries to make us have a distorted view of reality, and that we start calling what God calls evil, we start calling it good, and etc. And then once we start doing that, we change the definitions in our head, then it's easy for us to go and then do exactly what they did. Take the fruit, eat it. And then from then, their eyes were again open. They saw themselves in a way that you never saw themselves before. They realized they were naked. So they tried to cover up their shame, their nakedness. So with sin came shame, fear, accusation, mindset kind of thing. All these kind of different feelings that they never had before, that God never created as a byproduct of sin. So we also saw that God spoke to each of them, Adam and Eve, and they started accusing one another. And God went eventually to the serpent, the snake, that had made Eve fall. And that's what we're going to see today. So let's jump right into it. So after God asked Adam and Eve to render him an account of their actions, he confronted the snake, i.e. the serpent, with the following words. So apparently that's found in Genesis 3, verse 15. So it says, I'll put enmity between you and the woman. So I'm going to put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He will bruise your head, and you shall, your head, so head, and then you shall bruise his heel. So God will create a sort of friction between the serpent and the woman, between the woman's seed and the serpent's seed. The woman's seed will bruise the serpent's head, and then the serpent will bruise the woman's seed's heel. Whatever that means, these are coded prophecies. So let's read the note. Like the seed of the mighty, I've never read that word before, sequoia, contains the code of a huge tree within it. This verse contains the code of the whole Bible enclosed within it. I have no idea what that sentence means, but let's carry on. In fact, the Bible in its entirety is merely an outgrowth, an unfolding of this one verse. Alright, I think I understand. So out of that one verse, so that the whole Bible is basically God performing that one verse. So that prophecy of there being a controversy between the serpent and the woman, between the woman's seed and the serpent's seed, and then what's going to happen to the serpent's head being crushed by the seed of the woman, and the serpent bruising the seed of the woman in the heel. So I think that's what it's saying, that the whole of the Bible is God accomplishing this, of fulfilling this prophecy. So it says, as we shall see in the future lesson, the end time enmity spoken of in the book of Revelation must be understood in the light of this verse. Yes, because the controversy between good and evil happens even up to today. One of the books that speaks about our time and the future ahead is Revelation. There's also Daniel, but yeah, they go hand in hand. So at this point in time, Adam and Eve had become enemies of God. It's interesting because God says, I will put enmity between the woman and the serpent. So it's almost like God was saying to the serpent, you've created enmity between my creatures, i.e. the human race, and myself. So you, the devil, have made the human race my enemies. But I will tell you, straight from now, I will reverse the whole thing. And I will make the human race, through the seed, to be enemy with you. So I'll put enmity between you and the woman. I think that's what I understand from that. So at this point in time, I'm reading it again. Adam and Eve had become enemies of God. This enmity in this verse runs three ways. So let's see. Serpent, woman. So there's enmity between that, says God, or there will be. Seed and seed. So there's a seed of the serpent versus the seed of the woman. One has capital S, one doesn't. That's a point to note. And then between the serpent and the seed. So not only the serpent has seeds that will be in enmity with the seed of the woman, but the serpent himself will be having a war, raging a war with the seed, because the seed will crush his head. Though there is enmity between the woman and the serpent, and between the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent, the primary enmity is between the serpent and the woman's seed. And we can start to see where that's going. Because so the serpent we know represents the devil, right? And the devil always had an enmity against somebody, God himself. So it's almost like God was, well, it's not almost, it's God was already prophesying to the devil, the one that you already have an enmity with, that same one, i.e. God himself, will come down and crush your head. And will come down through that woman. You see, you tried to use the human race through that woman to be enemy with me. Well, I'm going to use that same woman that you persuaded to sin against me. I'm going to use her to have myself come through and then crush you. And we know, in foresight, we know that the seed of the woman was Jesus Christ himself. Jesus Christ, according to the book of John, is God himself that has put on flesh. The Word was with God, and the Word was God and became flesh. That's interesting. As I'm reading this, I'm understanding this. I had never seen that before. So it says, So number 2 says, who is this serpent of Genesis 3:15? Well, that's easy. Okay? We had seen that before. So Revelation 12 verse 9 actually tells us. So the great dragon was cast out from where? From heaven, right? Because verse 8 says, but they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of all, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world, and he was cast out to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. You see, that serpent of old, that serpent of Genesis, who deceived Eve, It's the same serpent today that deceives the whole world and is trying to do the same thing again. Makes us distrust God, distrust God's love for us, distrust God's intentions towards us, distrust God, what God has said. You know, he said, the thoughts that I have towards you are thoughts of good and not of evil, even good plans to bring you hope in the future. You know, all these things, he tries to make us distrust them, because as soon as we start to distrust that, he knows the ingredient to maintain a love relationship between two individuals. I'm not just talking of romantic love, I'm talking any type of love, is trust. Remove trust, you have no love whatsoever. So he knew that, the devil, and he deceives humanity up to today. When we find ourselves to sin, we know, hey, there's a problem between our relationship with God. Right, so who is this serpent of Genesis 3:15? The ancient serpent, I have no idea. What's the word? Oh, the devil and Satan. Oh, I see. Okay, so let's read the note. God was telling Satan, you turned the human race. That's exactly the conclusion we kind of discovered together in reading Genesis 3:15. I had not read that before. That is freaky. It's giving me like goosebumps. So God was telling Satan, you turned the human race against me and have made them my enemies. But I'm going to send a seed to the world who will do battle with you. In the process of this battle, you'll be successful in striking his heel, but he's going to crush your head. These words, heard by Adam and Eve, must have brought them much comfort and hope. Wow, that is deep. Okay. Who is represented by the seed of the serpent? That's something I don't know. I've always asked myself, okay, yeah, the serpent had a seed. I didn't see the serpent procreate or anything with anybody. Like, there are some people that say, oh yeah, the demons, angels came and had sexual relationship with the daughters of man, and that created the Nephilims and all these kind of nonsense. I'm saying it's nonsense because when you read the verse again, the verse says there were giants in those days and after. And after what? The same verse in Genesis 6 actually tells you, and after that the sons of God found that the daughters of men were beautiful and had relationship with them. So there were giants in those days and even after that the sons of God. So basically it shows that theory that the giants, the Nephilims, whatever they call them, came out of results of the sons of God that they say are demons or angels that fell down and coveted human women. That's nonsense because it contradicts the whole Bible that angels can't have sexual relationship. Jesus even himself said that. We'll study what it means, who are the sons of God and who are called the daughters of man. So, who is represented by the seed of the serpent? Cain, who killed his brother Abel, is spoken of as being of the, I don't know. So 1 John 3:12. Okay, let's read one verse before. For this is the message that you heard from the beginning, that we should love one another. Interesting. We were talking about the principle of love that Satan tried to break down, right? Between Adam and Eve at the beginning, right? And then verse 12 says, not as Cain, who was of the wicked one and murdered his brother. When you're of the wicked one, you don't love your neighbor, basically. I think that's what that verse was saying. And that lack of love makes you break the 10 commandments, obviously, because the 10 commandments are 10 perspective of what love is. So the way he did it was to murder, and then he lied to God as well. So thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not murder. And then he didn't respect his parents because he left without even saying goodbye. So why did he murder him? Because his works were evil and his brothers righteous. What? Cain, who killed his brother Abel, is spoken of as being of the, not as Cain, who was of the wicked one. Jesus said to his enemies, you are of your, I think I know that one, of your father the devil. Let's verify it. John chapter 8:44. Let's read from verse 43. Why do you not understand my speech? Because you are not able to listen to my word. Verse 44. You are of your father the devil, and the desires of your father you want to do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and does not stand in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own resources, for he is a liar and the father of it. It's interesting. The seed of the devil, i.e. Cain, because Cain chose to give himself to the devil. So that's what that means. The seed of the serpent is when we choose to give ourselves over to the serpent. But if we give ourselves to God, we become sons and daughters of God. Makes sense. Makes sense. Right. So you're of your father, the devil. Okay. So in the parable of the wheat and the tares are the of the wicked one. I have no clue. Let's have a look. So in Matthew 13:38 says, the enemy who sowed them in is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the angels. So the tares are the of the wicked one. How can I see that there? Oh, sorry. I was reading verse 39. So verse 38. The field is the world. The good seeds are the sons of the kingdom, but the tares are the sons of the wicked one. Right. That starts to make a lot of sense. So hence, the good one have seed, but the evil one have seeds as well. So the sons of the kingdom of God, i.e. of the kingdom of love, are the good seed. But the sons of the devil one are the tares. In a parable of the wheat and tare. That starts to make sense. Who is represented by the woman? So God we saw it before, that in prophecy, a woman represents a church. So God spoke about his church in the Old Testament in the following terms. Jeremiah 6 verse 2. I have likened the daughter of Zion to a lovely and delicate woman. So I have likened the daughter to lovely and delicate woman. Who is the seed of the woman? Well, we started seeing that are the sons of the kingdom. So, but let's see. Do Galatians 3:16. See how the Bible just ties itself nicely together. It's like God gave that little prophecy in the Garden of Eden. Coded at that time. The devil is an intelligent being, so I'm sure he understood what that meant. But throughout the Bible, he decodes these words. So now to Abraham and his seed, where the promise is made. He does not say unto seeds, as of many, but as of one, to your seed, who is Christ. So ultimately, we know that the seed of the woman spoken of in, i.e. the capital S, in Genesis was Christ, or is Christ. So who is the seed of the woman? Now to Abraham and his, capital S, seed, where the promise is made. He does not say unto seeds as of many, but as of one, and to your seed, who is Christ. From where did the seed come from, and when? So apparently that's found in Galatians chapter 4, so same book. Let's scroll, chapter 4 verse 4. But when the fullness of time had come, God sent forth his son, born of a woman, woman seed, born under the law, to redeem those who were under the law, that they might receive the adoptions as sons. That's why we also are sons of the kingdom, when we are adopted into the family of God. So God sent forth his Son, born of a woman, born under the law. And speaking of the birth of Jesus, we are told in Revelation 12, and she bore a male child who was so here's the she there. Verse 1. And a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under their feet, and the head 12 stars. We had seen that woman before. There was the harlot, that's not her, and that was that woman which was nicely dressed. So she bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up to God and to his throne. So she bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up to God and his throne. So there's definitely two seeds. There's the seed of the devil, which is all the wicked human beings, and then there's the seed of God. The seed of God is Jesus Christ, who came down to die for us and guide us back to the Father, so that we may be adopted as sons of God. He will rule all nations with a rod of iron, says this word from Revelation 12. Now let's read John 1 verse 1 to 3. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made. So let's look at verse 10 actually. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. Obviously because they killed him. Let's look at verse 14. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Again, we have the same word again as John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. So the reading says that Jesus is our Creator. In verse 14, the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. The Creator became one with us in order to redeem our failure.